What would you do if the person who vowed to love you forever rejected your child simply because of her skin color? In the pristine maternity ward of Boston's most exclusive hospital, Gabrielle Thornton, CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire, looked down at his newborn daughter. But when Gabrielle Thornton first held his newborn daughter, he didn't see his child. He saw a threat to his empire, a beautiful baby whose complexion didn't match his vision of legacy, a child whose existence would raise questions in his carefully curated world. Have you ever witnessed someone's true character revealed in a single unforgivable moment? That instant when the mask slips and you can never unsee what lies beneath? For Naomi Carter Thornton, that moment came not during a heated argument or public scandal, but in the quiet betrayal of a hospital room, as her husband's eyes hardened at the sight of their daughter's brown skin. For Naomi, that moment changed everything. The loving husband, the dedicated partner, the man she thought would stand beside her through anything, gone, replaced by a stranger whose ambition and prejudice ran deeper than their vows. But how could a betrayed mother bring down one of America's most powerful CEOs? How could a woman, suddenly alone with a newborn and a broken heart, challenge a man whose name adorned buildings and whose decisions moved markets? If you've ever witnessed injustice and waited for karma, stay with me for this story of calculated revenge. Because sometimes justice isn't swift, it's meticulous, patient, and when it finally arrives, it's devastating. Gabriel Thornton didn't inherit his fortune. He built it with ruthless precision. The son of middle-class parents from Connecticut, Gabriel graduated from MIT at 22 with dual degrees in computer science and business. By 25, he had launched his first startup. By 30, he had sold it for enough money to fund his true vision, Thornton Innovations. Technology should anticipate needs before people even know they have them, Gabriel told Forbes in his first cover feature. We don't just build solutions, we eliminate problems before they exist. This philosophy propelled Thornton Innovations to the forefront of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Their flagship product, an AI security system that learned from attempted breaches, revolutionized digital protection for everything from banking systems to government databases. Within a decade, Gabriel had transformed from ambitious entrepreneur to tech visionary. On stage at product launches, Gabriel exuded charisma. Tall, with sharp features and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow that marketing consultants assured him looked approachably brilliant, he commanded attention. His presentations became legendary in Silicon Valley. Each one a masterclass in persuasion. He wore the same outfit at every launch: dark jeans, black mock turtleneck, custom Italian blazer. The tech world's new uniform of power. Control the narrative, control the world, Gabriel often told his executive team. This mantra extended beyond business. His downtown penthouse, vacation homes, even his workout routine, all curated to project success. Gabriel didn't just want wealth, he wanted a dynasty. Legacy. A name that would outlast him. The business press adored him, America's most innovative CEO from Business Insider, the future maker from Wired, tech's new king from Time. Each profile described his meticulous attention to detail and visionary leadership. None mentioned what his closest employees knew. Gabriel's rage when plans deviated even slightly from his vision. The assistants who quit after being berated for minor mistakes. The developers who found their careers mysteriously stalled after questioning his decisions. His board of directors saw only growth curves and profit margins. Quarter after quarter, Thornton Innovations outperformed projections. The company expanded into new markets, absorbed smaller competitors, and forged partnerships with giants across industries. Gabriel's personal wealth climbed into billions. In elite circles, Gabriel moved with calculated grace. He donated to the right charities, attended the right galas, joined the right clubs. He built relationships with senators, Wall Street power players, and fellow tech titans. Each connection was carefully cultivated to advance his influence. Yet beneath this perfect exterior lay dangerous contradictions. The man who preached innovation feared change he couldn't control. The visionary who spoke about the future remained trapped in outdated prejudices. The leader who demanded loyalty showed none to those who trusted him most. These flaws remained hidden as Gabrielle's empire expanded, invisible fault lines beneath a seemingly impenetrable foundation. But even the strongest structures can collapse when pressure finds their weakest points. Naomi Carter graduated top of her class at Harvard Law, with job offers from the nation's most prestigious firms competing for her attention. The daughter of an African-American history professor and a Native American environmental scientist, she inherited not only her father's analytical mind, but her mother's deep connection to heritage and justice. Law gives us the tools to shape society, not just respond to it, Naomi told her classmates in her graduation speech. This philosophy guided her career at Wilson and Blackwell, where she specialized in corporate governance and ethics. By 30, she had made partner, the youngest in the firm's history and its first woman of color to do so. Gabriel and Naomi met at a technology regulation conference in San Francisco. He was the keynote speaker, she represented clients concerned about data privacy. Their debate during the panel discussion sparked intellectual chemistry that continued through dinner, then breakfast the following morning. She challenged everything I thought I knew, Gabriel later told his closest friend. No one had ever made me defend my ideas so thoroughly or made me want to be better. Their courtship unfolded against the backdrop of America's lingering discomfort with interracial relationships. Waitstaff would ask if they needed separate checks. Real estate agents showed them homes in diverse neighborhoods rather than the exclusive enclaves Gabrielle preferred. At industry events, people assumed Naomi was a diversity hire, rather than Gabrielle's equal or superior in intellect and accomplishment. They married at the Boston Public Library, under arched ceilings lined with books, a testament to their shared love of knowledge and history. The society pages covered the wedding as a merger of brilliance, the tech visionary and the legal prodigy. Photos captured their joy, their promise, their defiance of convention. Their son Maxwell arrived a year later, a perfect blend of his parents, with Gabriel's sharp features and Naomi's warm brown eyes. With Maxwell's birth, their family portrait seemed complete. They moved into a renovated brownstone in Boston's most prestigious neighborhood. Naomi reduced her caseload but continued consulting on high-profile cases. Gabriel expanded Thornton Innovations into international markets. They hosted dinner parties for intellectuals, entrepreneurs, and artists, creating a social circle that celebrated their unique partnership. Yet subtle fractures appeared. Gabrielle insisted they use a particular photographer for family portraits, one known for lighting techniques that minimize differences in skin tone. He steered conversation away from Naomi's heritage at public events. When Maxwell was invited to elite preschools, Gabriel emphasized his son's intellect over his multicultural background. "It's strategic," he explained when Naomi questioned him. "People see what they want to see. Why give them reasons to focus on anything but our accomplishments?" These moments accumulated like tiny weights on Naomi's conscience. She noticed how interracial couples still faced quiet judgment in America's wealthiest circles. The raised eyebrows, the scrutiny, the need to be exceptional to justify their existence. She watched other powerful men with wives of color parade their relationships as evidence of progressiveness, while simultaneously undermining diversity initiatives within their companies. Still, she believed in Gabriel's goodness, in their partnership, in the family they were building. Until Amara changed everything. Naomi's second pregnancy was unexpected, but initially welcomed with joy. At 40, Gabriel had begun speaking about his legacy, about carrying the Thornton name into future generations. Maxwell, now 3, already showed his father's aptitude for patterns and problem-solving. A daughter would complete their family portrait. But as Naomi's pregnancy progressed, Gabriel's enthusiasm waned. During ultrasound appointments, he asked technical questions but avoided emotional connection. He buried himself in expansion plans for Thornton Innovations, returning home long after Naomi had gone to bed. When she decorated the nursery, a sunlit room with walls painted soft gold, Gabriel rarely ventured inside. I'm just busy with the European launch, he explained. Once the baby arrives, I'll be more present. Naomi attributed his distance to work pressure, to the normal adjustment of preparing for a second child. She focused on Maxwell, on her occasional consulting work, on the gentle movements of the daughter growing within her. She believed in their family's strength. Amara Carter Thornton arrived on a snow-covered January morning after 12 hours of labor. When the doctor placed her in Naomi's arms, she felt the same rush of overwhelming love she had experienced with Maxwell. Amara was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, wide, curious eyes, and skin several shades darker than her brother's. "She looks just like my mother," Naomi whispered, tracing her finger along Amara's cheek. Gabriel stood beside the hospital bed, his face impossible to read. When Naomi offered the baby to him, he hesitated before taking her. His arms remained stiff, his eyes clinical rather than adoring. "She doesn't look like Thornton," he said finally. The room temperature seemed to drop. Naomi watched her husband stare at their daughter as if examining a product that had arrived damaged. "She looks exactly like she should," Naomi replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "Beautiful." Gabrielle handed Amara back and stepped toward the window. "People will talk. Let them." That night, after Naomi had fallen into exhausted sleep, Gabriel made a phone call from the hospital corridor. "We need to discuss contingency plans," he told his personal attorney, discreetly. The weeks following Amara's birth marked the beginning of Naomi's new reality. Gabriel held business meetings at home but rarely entered the nursery. When investors or colleagues visited, he made excuses for why the baby was napping or with the nanny. Family photos featuring Amara mysteriously disappeared from social media accounts managed by his personal assistant. During a heated argument 6 weeks after Amara's birth, Gabriel finally spoke the unspeakable. "Be reasonable, Naomi. My investors, my board, they have certain expectations. Maxwell already looks different enough. But Amara," he gestured helplessly, "she doesn't fit the narrative." "She's your daughter," Naomi said, her voice breaking. "Biologically, perhaps, but I can't—" He stopped himself. "There are excellent private adoption agencies, discreet ones. Or your mother could raise her. We could support them financially, of course." The suggestion sliced through Naomi's heart like a blade of ice. She clutched Amara tighter to her chest, this perfect child who had committed no crime but existing. "Get out," she whispered, then louder, "Get out!" As days stretched into weeks, Naomi's world contracted. Friends from their shared social circle stopped calling. Invitations dwindled. Gabrielle worked increasingly late hours and, when home, treated Amara with distant politeness, a guest in his house rather than his child. Only Maxwell's unconditional love for his baby sister provided comfort. He would lean over her crib, telling stories and making her smile. "She looks like Grandma," he said proudly, repeating Naomi's words. If this story is already making your blood boil, hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you've witnessed similar prejudice. Because what happened to Amara happens every day, in ways both subtle and devastating. As Amara reached 6 months old, Gabriel's pressure intensified. What began as suggestions evolved into demands. During a tense dinner, after Maxwell had gone to bed, Gabriel slid a folder across the table. "I've found a solution," he said, his voice businesslike. "A couple in Vermont, both doctors. Beautiful home with acres of land. They've been waiting to adopt for years." Naomi didn't touch the folder. "We've discussed this. Amara stays with us." "Be reasonable," Gabriel countered, his calm facade cracking. "Every public appearance, every company function, people notice. The board has questions, investors have concerns." "About what?" "Your child's skin color." Naomi's voice remained low but sharp. "What exactly are you telling them, Gabriel?" His silence answered everything. "Our daughter stays with us," Naomi repeated. "End of discussion." That night, Gabrielle didn't come home. Naomi told herself he was working late, a common occurrence since Almare's birth, but at 3 a.m., driven by intuition, she checked his location on their shared family account. The blue dot pulsed steadily at the Archer Hotel, 15 minutes from their home. The following weeks revealed a pattern: late meetings, hotel stays, weekend conferences that appeared on his calendar at the last minute. Naomi recognized the signs, but focused on protecting her children from the fracturing of their world. Until the gala, the annual Thornton Innovation Foundation fundraiser that dominated Boston's philanthropic calendar. Gabriel had insisted Naomi attend without Amara. Maxwell is old enough to understand these events. Amara's too young, he'd reasoned. Naomi had reluctantly agreed, leaving Amara with her most trusted nanny. The gala's theme was future forward, with Thornton Innovation's latest achievements displayed throughout the historic museum venue. Gabriel worked the room with practiced charm, his hand occasionally resting on Naomi's back, a performance of marital unity. Then Naomi noticed her, Claire Winslow, the newly promoted VP of Strategic Partnerships. 32 years old, Stanford MBA, blonde hair swept into an elegant updo, wearing a gown that perfectly complemented Gabriel's tuxedo. Throughout the evening, their eyes connected across crowded conversations. Their bodies drifted closer during presentations, their laughter synchronized. "How long has Claire been handling the European accounts?" Naomi asked Gabriel quietly as they applauded a presenter. His hesitation lasted only microseconds. "Since the expansion. Why?" "Just curious about the team changes." That night, after Gabriel fell asleep, Naomi opened his laptop using the password he didn't know she knew. His emails revealed the truth in clinical detail. 6 months of messages, hotel reservations, private dinners disguised as business meetings, intimate exchanges about shared dreams and future plans. Most revealing was an email from Gabrielle to Claire the day after a company photo shoot. "You looked perfect today. Exactly the image we want to project to the world. Exactly who belongs at my side." The betrayal was calculated, not just against Naomi, but against Amara. Gabriel hadn't simply found comfort with another woman. He'd chosen a partner who embodied what he considered acceptable, who wouldn't raise questions about belonging at industry events, whose children would look unquestionably like Thornton's. Naomi closed the laptop without confronting him. Knowledge was power, and she needed every advantage. Gabriel's personal chaos increasingly affected Thornton Innovations. He fast-tracked Claire's projects while sidelining talented team members who questioned his judgment. He rushed the launch of their new security platform, despite engineers warning about vulnerabilities. When quarterly projections showed concerning trends, he pressured the finance team to find creative solutions, to maintain investor confidence. Meanwhile, Naomi observed everything with new clarity. She noticed board members' concerned glances when Gabriel made impulsive decisions. She heard the whispers when Claire received her 3rd promotion in 8 months. She watched the company culture transform from innovative to fearful. Most painfully, she witnessed Gabrielle's relationship with Maxwell change. He began treating their son as a project, scheduling educational activities, hiring specialized tutors, discussing prestigious schools, though Maxwell was only 4. "A Thornton needs certain advantages," he insisted when Naomi questioned this intensity. Naomi understood the implication. Maxwell, despite his mixed heritage, was light-skinned enough to be molded into Gabriel's vision of a Thornton heir. Amara was not. The betrayal had metastasized beyond their marriage into something more insidious. A man rejecting not just his wife, but the very idea that his legacy could exist in a child whose appearance didn't meet his specifications. 1 year after Amara's birth, Gabrielle scheduled a family photo shoot for Thornton Innovation's annual report. "Just Maxwell and me," he informed Naomi over breakfast. "The board wants to highlight our mentorship program." "Father and son representing the company." "And your daughter?" Naomi asked quietly. "Where does she fit in this future?" Gabriel didn't answer. His attention already returned to his phone. That evening, while preparing dinner with Amara balanced on her hip, Naomi received a call from Sophie, her former assistant at Wilson and Blackwell. "I thought you should know," Sophie said hesitantly. "Gabriel filed papers today." "What papers?" Naomi's hand froze on the wooden spoon. Legal documents. I only saw them because I'm working with the family division now. He's moving to legally distance himself from Amara. The filing questions paternity and requests. The spoon clattered against the tile floor. Amara's small hand patted Naomi's cheek, as if sensing her distress. There's more, Sophie continued. The documents mention Claire Winslow as his life partner and reference plans for a new family unit. After hanging up, Naomi stood motionless in her kitchen, Amara's weight against her chest the only thing anchoring her to reality. The betrayal exceeded even her worst suspicions. Gabriel wasn't just rejecting their daughter. He was attempting to erase her legally, to sever the connection entirely. For hours after putting the children to bed, Naomi sat in the darkness of her home office. Devastation crashed over her in waves, followed by anger so intense it left her breathless. Then, as dawn approached, clarity emerged. Emotional reactions would change nothing. Public confrontations would only hurt Maxwell and Amara. Gabriel had calculated every move to protect himself and his image. She needed to be equally strategic. This isn't about saving our marriage, she whispered to herself. This is about justice. In the months that followed, Naomi navigated her new reality with precision. She hired a discreet but ruthless divorce attorney while maintaining a facade of normalcy. She documented every instance of Gabrielle's rejection of Amara while strengthening her own support network. She rebuilt relationships with former colleagues and reconnected with old friends in finance, technology, and media. Meanwhile, Amara bloomed despite her father's absence. At 18 months, she spoke in complete sentences and showed remarkable emotional intelligence. She would pat Maxwell's hand when he seemed sad, bring books to Naomi when she looked tired. Her laugh, bright and fearless, filled the spaces Gabriel had abandoned. "Mama up!" Amara would demand, arms raised, unaware that half her genetic heritage had deemed her unworthy. Watching her daughter's resilience, Naomi found her resolve hardening into something unbreakable. Gabriel had built his entire identity around Thornton Innovations, its success, its reputation, its future. The company wasn't just his creation, it was his legacy, his proof of worth. On Amara's second birthday, as Gabriel sent his obligatory gift via courier rather than appearing in person, Naomi made her decision. She wouldn't just fight for custody or financial support. She wouldn't merely expose his infidelity or prejudice. She would dismantle what Gabriel valued most, his empire, piece by calculated piece. "He wants a legacy?" Naomi whispered, watching Amara gleefully unwrap presents with Maxwell. "I'll give him one he never expected." Naomi Carter Thornton didn't believe in impulsive revenge. As a former high-stakes attorney, she understood that the most effective strategies required patience, precision, and preparation. The day after Amara's second birthday, she initiated what she privately called the Restoration Plan, a 3-year strategy to reclaim justice. First, she resumed selective legal consulting, choosing clients that expanded her network within Boston's financial and tech ecosystems. Each case provided both income and information, connections to people who might later become allies. She established a separate bank account, funded by her consulting fees, creating financial independence Gabriel couldn't track. "I'm just keeping my skills sharp," she explained when Gabriel questioned her renewed professional activity. He accepted this explanation easily, his attention focused on Claire, and his company's aggressive expansion. Raising Amara presented challenges beyond typical parenting struggles. At playgroups, mothers would ask pointed questions, "Adopted?" or "From your previous relationship?" When Naomi explained that Amara was her daughter with Gabriel, their expressions shifted to disbelief or, worse, pity. During a preschool interview, the admissions director glanced between Amara's application photo and Naomi with transparent confusion. "We'll need the father's signature as well," she noted, though Maxwell's application had been processed with only Naomi's signature. Naomi addressed each slight with composed dignity, teaching Amara by example. "We stand tall," she would tell her daughter each morning as they prepared to face the world. "We never apologize for who we are." Meanwhile, Gabriel's behavior grew increasingly reckless. The separation agreement granted him regular visitation with Maxwell but made no mention of Amara. During handoffs, Gabriel would barely acknowledge his daughter, though she would call out "Daddy" with heartbreaking hope. At Thornton Innovations, Gabriel's decision-making became erratic. He fired senior engineers who questioned his technical directions. He fast-tracked Claire's promotion to chief strategy officer despite her limited experience, creating resentment throughout the company. Board meetings, once models of strategic planning, devolved into Gabriel defending impulsive acquisitions and unexplained expense increase. Most concerning to shareholders, Gabriel began moving company resources into personal projects. He established a separate research division, reporting directly to him, with financing structures that blurred the lines between corporate and personal assets. When the CFO raised concerns, Gabriel replaced him with a former college classmate known for creative accounting. While Gabriel's empire showed expanding cracks, Naomi methodically strengthened her position. She reconnected with former Harvard classmates who had become SEC regulators and financial journalists. She cultivated relationships with key members of Thornton's board, positioning herself as a stabilizing presence during Maxwell's visits to company events. Most significantly, she documented everything: Gabriel's neglect of Amara, his financial manipulations, his increasingly volatile leadership. Each evidence piece joined a secure digital vault, accessible only to her and her most trusted attorney. By Amara's third birthday, the contrast between mother and father had become stark. Naomi had transformed grief into purpose, isolation into strategic connection. Her home radiated warmth, with Amara and Maxwell thriving under her guidance. Both children spoke multiple languages, thanks to the diverse caregivers and educators Naomi had selected. Their confidence and emotional intelligence drew comments from teachers and family friends alike. Gabriel, meanwhile, projected success while making increasingly desperate moves to maintain his image and control. His relationship with Claire had become transactional. She provided the appearance he wanted. He provided the career advancement she demanded. His once innovative company had stopped creating and instead acquired smaller firms, absorbing their ideas rather than generating new ones. Subscribe now to see more stories of incredible resilience and justice like Naomi's, because what you're about to witness isn't just revenge. It's restoration of balance in a world that too often rewards the wrong people. 3 months before Amara's 5th birthday, Naomi activated the final phase of her plan. Years of preparation had positioned her perfectly to penetrate Gabriel's carefully constructed facade. Her first resource came from an unexpected ally, Thornton Innovations' former CFO Marcus Bennett, who Gabriel had dismissed for questioning financial irregularities. Over coffee in a quiet Cambridge cafe, Marcus provided detailed insight into the company's accounting practices. "He's moving money between subsidiaries to hide expenditures," Marcus explained, sliding a flash drive across the table. "These transfers bypass normal reporting requirements. The board sees selective data, enough to maintain confidence, but not enough to raise alarms." Naomi analyzed the financial documents with the assistance of a forensic accountant, her former Harvard roommate, who now specialized in corporate fraud. They identified patterns: company funds financing Gabriel and Claire's luxury travel, research grants redirected to personal projects, offshore accounts receiving substantial transfers before quarterly reports. More damaging was Gabriel's treatment of intellectual property. 3 software developers had left Thornton, claiming Gabriel had stolen their innovations. The company had quietly settled, binding them with non-disclosure agreements. Naomi tracked down each developer, building relationships based on shared experiences of Gabriel's betrayal. "He called my security protocol supplementary in meetings," one developer told her. 6 months later, it became Thornton's flagship product, with his name on the patent. Through a network of administrative assistants, the invisible workforce that observed everything, Naomi collected evidence of Gabriel's ethical violations. His racist comments about international partners, his directive to human resources to avoid hiring candidates with complicated backgrounds, his mandate that Claire represent the company at diversity initiatives, creating a false image of inclusivity. Each revelation reinforced Naomi's resolve, yet brought moral questions. Was her pursuit of justice becoming an obsession? Was she allowing Gabriel's behavior to transform her into someone equally calculating? Would her children benefit from the public exposure of their father's misconduct? During a weekend when Maxwell and Amara visited her parents, Naomi evaluated her motivations. This wasn't merely about punishing Gabriel. It was about protecting Amara from a lifetime of rejection, about creating accountability in a system that too often excused powerful men, about demonstrating to both her children that principles mattered more than position. Her conviction renewed, Naomi cultivated relationships with select journalists, those known for integrity and thorough research. She never provided documents directly, but guided their investigations with carefully phrased questions. Have you looked into Thornton's acquisition of Mindshield Technologies? Or, the board changes last quarter raised some interesting timing questions. Meanwhile, she prepared Maxwell for the coming storm. Now 8 years old, he understood more than most children his age. Sometimes people we love make mistakes, she explained without vilifying his father. And sometimes those mistakes have consequences. She was waiting for one final piece, the catalyst that would transform isolated incidents into an undeniable pattern. When Gabriel announced the company's largest public offering to date, Naomi recognized her moment had arrived. Timing is everything in both legal strategy and market disruption, principles Naomi had mastered in both worlds. On the morning of Thornton Innovation's most ambitious public offering, when Gabriel stood to add billions to his net worth, Naomi executed the final phase of her plan. She didn't attack all at once. Instead, she orchestrated a cascade of revelations, each building upon the last. The first domino, an exclusive interview with a respected financial journal where the former CFO detailed accounting irregularities. The article appeared online at 6:00 a.m., precisely when pre-market trading began. By 7:30 a.m., 3 major business networks had picked up the story. By 8:00 a.m., Thornton's stock had dropped 12%. Gabriel issued a statement dismissing the allegations as disgruntled employee accusations and assured investors the offering would proceed as planned. Then the second wave hit. At 9:15 a.m., a leading tech publication released documents showing Gabriel had patented innovations originally created by junior developers. Screenshots of emails revealed his explicit instructions to remove their names from credit. The developers, freed from NDAs through legal maneuvering Naomi had arranged months earlier, confirmed the reports. Gabriel called an emergency board meeting, unaware that 5 board members had received detailed briefings from anonymous sources the night before. As he attempted to control the narrative, his phone buzzed with notification after notification. The third strike came from an unexpected direction: the lifestyle and society pages. Photos emerged of Gabriel and Claire at locations across Europe and Asia, all during trips financed by Thornton Innovations for business development. Expense reports showed 5-star accommodations booked for executive strategy sessions that coincided with romantic getaways documented on Claire's private Instagram account. Access granted to a journalist through a former assistant Claire had mistreated. By noon, Thornton's stock had plummeted 30%. Trading was temporarily halted. The public offering was postponed, pending investigation of baseless claims. Gabriel's phone rang. Claire, panicking as reporters surrounded her apartment. The board members demanding explanations for financial discrepancies they could no longer ignore. Legal counsel warning of potential SEC investigations. Each call increased his desperation. But the most devastating blow was still coming. At 2:00 p.m., The Atlantic published a feature that had been months in development. The Children Left Behind, Corporate America's Hidden Biases. The piece examined how powerful executives treated children who didn't fit their image expectations. Though legally careful never to directly accuse Gabrielle, the article included anonymous accounts from household staff and family friends describing how a prominent tech CEO rejected his mixed-race daughter while grooming his son for succession. Supporting quotes came from developmental psychologists about the impact of parental rejection on children, from experts on corporate diversity about the disconnect between public statements and private behaviors, from former Thornton employees about the company's troubling internal practices regarding race and inclusion. The personal and professional accusations merged into a comprehensive indictment of Gabrielle's character. By market close, Thornton Innovations had lost 45% of its value. Thornton fraud and Gabrielle's fallen empire dominated social media. In a final, perfect twist of fate, Gabriel's frantic damage control efforts revealed his true priorities. At an emergency press conference, he defended his business practices vigorously, but dismissed the personal allegations as private matters irrelevant to shareholder interests. This calculated separation of his professional and personal ethics became the story's headline. News anchors questioned how investors could trust a leader who openly admitted to compartmentalizing his moral obligation. 3 days later, the board of directors placed Gabrielle on administrative leave pending investigations. Major clients paused their contracts. Partners distanced themselves from the company. Claire, sensing the inevitable collapse, accepted a position with a competitor. Gabriel's carefully constructed world disintegrated not through a single explosive revelation, but through the methodical exposure of a pattern Naomi had documented for 3 years while raising the daughter he'd rejected. The justice was poetic. The man who had built his identity on public perception now stood exposed before that same public, his true nature revealed, not through passionate accusations, but through his own documented choices. In the months following the revelations, Thornton Innovations fought for survival. The company's value had dropped 60% from its peak. Clients terminated contracts. Top talent departed for competitors. The board, desperate to salvage what remained, initiated a complete leadership overhaul and corporate restructuring. Gabrielle, once the face of American innovation, became the embodiment of corporate hypocrisy. The SEC launched a formal investigation into financial improprieties. 3 separate shareholder lawsuits alleged breach of fiduciary duty. Former employees came forward with additional accounts of discrimination and misconduct. His personal wealth, once measured in billions, diminished with each stock market dive. Legal fees mounted. Claire publicly distanced herself, telling a tech magazine, "I was misled about many aspects of both the company and our relationship." In this vacuum of leadership, an unexpected voice emerged. Naomi Carter Thornton. Initially approached for comment as Gabrielle's estranged wife, she displayed such profound understanding of both the company's technology and its ethical failures that the board invited her to consult on the restructuring. Thornton Innovations developed valuable technologies, Naomi told the interim leadership team. The company's failure wasn't in its products, but in its principles. Her proposal? Transforming the company into a model of transparent governance and authentic inclusion, resonated with employees, investors, and industry observers. Within 6 months, she had been named to the board of directors. Within a year, she became chairperson, guiding the renamed Carter Innovations toward stability. Meanwhile, Amara, now 5 years old, flourished in the spotlight that might have damaged a less resilient child. With Naomi's thoughtful guidance, Amara's story became a powerful narrative about belonging and identity. Mother and daughter appeared together at carefully selected events focused on family diversity and inclusion. "My mother taught me that we never apologize for who we are," Amara told a children's magazine in a supervised interview, her confidence inspiring thousands of mixed-race families facing similar prejudices. Maxwell, now 10, demonstrated extraordinary empathy through the transition. He maintained controlled contact with Gabriel while developing a public voice as a young advocate for family acceptance. His school essays about sibling bonds and family evolution won national recognition. Gabriel's descent proved as dramatic as his rise. The final blow came when the court ordered psychological evaluation of his relationship with his children revealed the extent of his rejection of Amara. The judge's ruling was unequivocal. Gabriel's visitation with Maxwell would be limited and supervised, with mandatory counseling before any contact with Amara could be considered. Stripped of his company, his reputation, and meaningful connection with his children, Gabriel retreated to a modest apartment in Chicago, far from the empire he'd built and destroyed. The case reverberated beyond one family's drama. Major corporations implemented new governance structures to prevent similar ethical failures. Business schools developed case studies on the correlation between personal and professional ethics. Media outlets examined their role in amplifying certain narratives about success while ignoring character flaws. Most significantly, conversations about mixed-race families moved from the margins to the mainstream. Parenting forums, psychological research, and diversity initiatives began addressing the complex realities these families navigated, their challenges, resilience, and vital contributions to an evolving society. 3 years after Gabriel's downfall, Naomi sat on a park bench watching Amara and Maxwell play. Nearby, a photographer from Business Weekly captured candid images for their Women Reshaping Business cover feature. The journey from betrayed wife to respected corporate leader hadn't been simple, but its lessons were profound. Justice rarely arrives in expected ways. For Gabriel, consequences came not through dramatic confrontation but through the steady exposure of truth. His rejection of Amara, rooted in prejudice masked as pragmatism, ultimately revealed character flaws that destroyed everything he valued. The very image he had sacrificed his daughter to protect became his undoing. Across America, countless mixed-race families navigate versions of what Naomi and her children experienced. From subtle exclusion at family gatherings to explicit rejection by parents unable to see beyond appearance, these experiences shape identities and relationships. Yet, these families also demonstrate extraordinary resilience, creating new definitions of belonging when traditional ones fail them. Under Naomi's leadership, Carter Innovations became a different kind of success story, one measured not just by market value but by ethical impact. The company established the Amara Foundation, funding educational initiatives for children facing family rejection, and supporting research on mixed-race identity development. Amara herself, now entering elementary school, carried neither bitterness nor confusion about her worth. "My mom says I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be," she told everyone who asked about her story. This certainty, this unshakable sense of belonging, was Naomi's greatest achievement. The most powerful legacies aren't built on control or appearance, but on truth and acceptance. Gabriel lost everything trying to maintain a false image. Naomi gained everything by embracing authenticity. If this story moved you, make sure to share it with someone who needs to hear that justice sometimes comes to those who wait. Because in a world that often rewards the wrong values, we need reminders that character ultimately reveals itself, and that love, when genuine, creates stronger foundations than any empire built on deception.